Now we're going to talk about using a quiz, and in this particular video, I'm going to show you how to basically start a quiz from scratch, meaning that I've created it but I have not added any questions into it. So we need to go and click on our quiz, and in this particular page here, you'll see the directions for the quiz, the name of the quiz, the details about it, and if any attempts are allowed. And then you'll also see that no questions have been added yet. In order to get this quiz started, I need to do that. But first, there's a couple things you want to understand. When I click on the Edit Quiz button, it'll allow me to go and edit the quiz. However, once I've added questions, that button will no longer appear on this page. So you'll have to actually go down to the settings block and click on Edit Quiz. They both do the same thing. It's just this one's always there, this one is not. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Edit Quiz. And I'll be taken here, and this is the Editing Quiz tab. I'm going to go ahead and explain to you some of the basic concepts going from top to bottom here of what we have to work with. First of all, you'll see the name of the quiz and a link that gives you some ideas about creating a quiz or editing a quiz. You'll have some statistics about the quiz, such as what the total number of grades equal, how many questions there are, and that the quiz is currently closed. Also, you'll see the maximum grade that a student can get. So the total of grades and the maximum grade are where will be used to actually compute their grade. So for example, if the total of grades was 50 and the maximum was 100, then whatever they got out of 50 would be doubled essentially to get to that 100 points. So that's how that would work. If you want to change it to say 50, you type in the number here and click save, and now it will be updated. For right now, I'm going to leave it as 100 points. And this would basically be whatever point value you want the assignment to end up being worth at the end of the day. So I typically leave this as that point value. Notice it says shuffle questions has been set. I'm going to explain to you here in a moment why that's important, and then I'm going to go back to a different view so you can see it from the other perspective as well. So right now I need to add questions, and you'll see it says page 1, empty page. There's nothing here. I could delete this page by clicking on the X here, but I actually need to put questions in here. Notice I can add a question here and actually type it in. If you want to learn more about adding questions, you need to go to the question creation page in the wiki, or I can add a random question from a particular test bank if I want to. In this case, I've got a few questions created over in a test bank, and I'm going to add them in. Now, I'm not going to go into detail on question banks here, but there is a page on question banks and categories in the wiki, so I'd ask that you go there to learn more about those. So I'm going to go ahead and add these 3 questions here by checking them and clicking on Add to Quiz. So whenever you create a question bank or category, you can select it here, and then you can go into this list and check them, or if you click on the double arrow, it automatically adds it to the quiz. But if I want all of them, I can click on Add to Quiz. I can select multiple ones at the same time if I so choose. I can also delete questions out of this bank from here as well by clicking them and then clicking delete. Or if I want to move them to another question category, I can choose it here and then click move to as well. Also, if I want to, I can just choose a question bank and then click add as many random questions as I want, up to 3, and then click add to quiz, and it'll just add a random selection of questions into the quiz here in no particular order. So I now have questions in the quiz, and you'll see that I have question marks here. Typically you would see the number of the question, but because shuffle is set, these will be randomly ordered for each student, so that's why there's a question mark here. The page really is irrelevant at this point because they're all going to be shuffled. It really doesn't matter what page they're on. So you'll notice here that I have the question name and a hand. If I click on either of these, it'll let me edit the question or change it. I'll see an icon which represents the type of question it is. In this case, it's an essay question. It also says what type it is. And then I have a magnifying glass here that if I click on it, it'll actually show me a preview of the question as the student would see it. I can, typically if it's like a multiple choice or something like that, I can have it fill in the correct responses. And then I can also change some of the options like how does it behave, how many points is it worth, whether it's correct or incorrect, and so on. So I have a number of different options here about the different feedbacks and all that. So if I want to modify those here, I can. Once again, that's all related to question creation, which will be covered in a separate wiki page. When I'm done, I can click on close preview and it takes me back here. Now you notice if I go to the true or false question, I can actually fill in the correct response here. It'll tell me which one is supposed to be the correct one, and I can modify that to make sure that it's correct if necessary, and close preview. Now, I can also move the questions up or down in order. Now, because shuffle is turned on, that's really kind of irrelevant because they're going to be shuffled anyways. But if I just want to see them in order for my particular needs, then I can click on these arrows. The up arrow moves it up in order. The down arrow moves it down. The X deletes the question entirely. Notice there's also this grade box here. This is very important for assigning the value to the grade. So, for example, you may have a really tough question that you want to assign more or less points to. So let's say at this question, I decide I want it to be worth 2 or double the other questions. I'm going to type in the number and click on save, and then from there I can actually make that particular question count as 2. So essay questions typically tend to be longer, require a little more work, and so therefore I may actually put in 2 there to make it count a little bit more. The other place that's useful as well is with matching questions. You may have 10 questions in a matching question, and yet Moodle will count them all as one big question. So in order to assign the appropriate value, what you want to do is, let's say that this was actually a matching question with 10 different matches. Then I go in here and type in 10 and click on save, and now what that means is that actually counts as like 10 questions, or 10 of the total points. And these only count as 1, so it makes it a little more evenly distributed in terms of how points are assigned there. So that's important to keep in mind as well, because also with the matching, if you have 10 there and they get 8 of the 10 correct, well, they get 8 points out of 10. So once again, it weights it a little more appropriately. Notice that the statistics up here change as well. So while you have a total of 12 points in terms of the grades, you actually only have 3 physical questions in the test. So that's how you can change the weighting of the grades. And that covers everything in the editing quiz tab. Now I will show you real quick. I'm going to update this quiz. I'm going to turn shuffle questions off, because in order to order these things properly, we need it to be turned off. So if I don't want them shuffled randomly, let's say I want them as shown on the edit screen, which is where I just was, and let's say I want every question to be on a separate page. I'm going to click on Save and Display, and now I have to go back to the Edit Quiz link again. And now you'll see each question is on its own page, and each one is also numbered in the order that's going to appear. So that's what the difference is primarily between the shuffled randomly and in order of the edit screen. Note that I can click here to add a page if I want to, and I can add more questions in this order, so it makes it a little bit easier to order the questions. Now, the other way I can order questions is from the Order and Paging tab. The Order and Paging tab lets me see all the questions, and it makes them a little more compact, so it's easier to move them up and down and add pages. So I have a few different buttons. We're going to start from left to right again and kind of cover some of the different things here. I have the name of the quiz, the stats again. I can choose select all or deselect all, and that allows me to remove those selected questions. So let's say I just wanted to get rid of this question. I could check it and click remove, or I could click on the X here to remove it. Or I could select all the questions and remove them, and then add them back again and reorder them in a specific way if I wanted to. Or if I don't want them selected, I can click deselect all. Now over on the right, I have add new pages after selected questions. So I could go here and say I want add new page, and now it has an empty page with no questions here. If I want to get rid of it, I can click on the X to remove it. Alright, and that allows me to add questions in specific orders. This is very similar to the editing quiz page. Just once again, it's a little more compact so you can see things a little bit better. If I want to, I can take this question and move it to page 3 and click move. And now you notice it's on page 3 and page 2 is now empty. If I want to move it back, I can check it, move selected question to page 2, click on move, and it'll move it back. Now keep in mind I could actually move multiple ones at once to page 3, and I could move multiple ones back. So it makes it a little bit easier to reorder the questions. If I want to just randomly reorder them here, I can click on reorder, and it'll put them in a different order. I can also click on repaginate if I've changed some of the settings. So repaginate with, let's say, 2 questions per page. I can click on go, and now I have 2 questions on a single page. And since I only have 3, this one will only have 1. Or if I want to go back to repaginate, 1 per question per page, then that's what it would look like. So it allows me to change some of those settings directly here. Notice these buttons are the same on the top and the bottom, so there's really nothing new there. And like I did in the edit tab, I could actually add new questions here from the question bank as well if I wanted to. So that's actually setting up and creating the quiz. In the next video, you're going to see how to actually view the quiz and how it's graded.